Dominus Hyacinthus de Archangelis, Pauperum Procurator by Robert Browning. My Giacinto, he's no ruddy rogue, is not Cinone? What, today we're 8. 7 and 1's 8. I hope, old curly-pate branches me out his verb-tree on the slate. Amo as avi atum or ans. Up to aturus, person, tense, and mood. Quies me cum subjunctivo, I could cry and choose Corderius with his morning crust. Look 8 years onward, and he's perched, dapper and deft on stool beside this chair. Cinozzo, Cinoncello, who but he? Trying his milk teeth on some crusty case like this. Papa shall triturate full soon to smooth Papinianian pulp. It trots already through my head, though noon be. Now, does supper time and what belongs to I. Dispose, O dawn. O the day, first work then play. The proverb bids, and, then, means, won't we hold our little yearly lovesome frolic feast, Cinella's birthnight, Cinoncello's own, that makes gruff January grin perforce. For too contagious grows the mirth, the warmth escaping from so many hearts at once when the good wife, buxom and bonny yet, jokes the hale grandsire, such are just the sort to go off suddenly, he who hides the key o' the box beneath his pillow every night, which box may hold a parchment, someone thinks, will show a scribbled something like a name, Cinino, Cinicino, near the end, to whom I give and I bequeath my lands, estates, tenements, hereditament, when I decease as honest grandsire ought. Wherefore yet this one time again perhaps shan't my Orvieto fuddle his old nose. Then, uncles, one or the other, well the world, may drop in, merely trudge through rain and wind, rather. The smell feasts rouse them at the hint there's cookery in a certain dwelling place. Gossips, too, each with keepsake in his poke, will pick the way, thrid lane by lantern light, and so find door, put Galaga skin off at entry of a decent domicile cornered in snug condotti, all for love, all to crush cup with Cinocciatolo. Well, let others climb the heights o' the court, the camp. How vain are chambering in wantonness, revel and rout and pleasures that make mad. Commend me to home joy, the family board, altar and hearth. These, with a brisk career, a source of honest profit and good fame. Just so much work as keeps the brain from rust, just so much play as lets the heart expand. Honoring God and serving man, I say, these are reality, and all else fluff, nutshell and not. Thank Flaccus for the phrase. Suppose I had been Fisk, yet bachelor. Why, work with a will, then. Wherefore lazy now? Turn up the hourglass, whence no sand grain slips but should have done its duty to the saint o' the day, the son and heir that's 8 years old. Let law come dimple Cinoncino's cheek, and Latin dumple Cinorello's chin, the while we spread him fine and toss him flat this pulp that makes the pancake. Trim our mass of matter into argument the first, prime pleading in defense of our accused, which, once a waft on paper wing, shall soar, shall signalize before applausive Rome what study, and mayhap some mother wit, can do toward making master fop and Fisk old bachelor Botanius bite his thumb. Now, how good God is! How falls plumb to point this murder, gives me Guido to defend now, of all days the year, just when the boy verges on Virgil, reaches the right age for some such illustration from his sire, stimulus to himself. One might wait years and never find the chance which now finds me. The fact is, there's a blessing on the hearth, a special providence for fatherhood. Here's a man, and what's more, a noble, kills not sneakingly but almost with parade wife's father and wife's mother and wife's self that's mother's self of son and heir, like mine. And here stand I, the favored advocate, who pluck this flower o' the field. No. Solomon was ever clothed in glorious gold to match, and set the same in Cinoncino's cap. I defend Guido and his comrades I pray God, I keep me humble. Not to me non nobis, domini, said tibi laus. How the fop chuckled when they made him Fisk. We'll beat you, my Botanius, all for love, all for our tribute to Cinozzo's day. Why, Espudicans, old Innocent himself may rub his eyes at the bustle, ask, what's this, rolling from out the rostrum, as a gust? Oh, the pro Malone had been prisoned there, and rattled Rome awake? Awake in Rome. How can the Pope doze on in decency? He needs must wake up also, speak his word, have his opinion like the rest of Rome, about this huge, this hurly-burly case. He wants who can excogitate the truth, give the result in speech, plain black and white, to mumble in the mouth and make his own a little changed, good man, a little changed. No matter, so his gratitude be moved, by when my Giacinto gets of age, mindful of who thus helped him at a pinch, Archangelis Procurator Pauperum improved. Hortensius redivivus. Phew! To earn the est, merit the minced herb that mollifies the liver's leathery slice, with here a goosefoot, there a cock's comb stuck, cemented in an element of cheese. I doubt if dainties do the grandsire good. Last June he had a sort of strangling. Bah! He's his own master, and his will is made. So, liver, fizz, law flit and Latin fly as we rub hands or dish by way of grace. May I lose cause if I vent one word more except, with fresh cut quill we ink the white, pro Guidoni et Socis. There, Count Guido married our, in Latin do, what? Duxit in ixorum? Commonplace. Tcdas gigales init, subiet, ha. He underwent the matrimonial torch, connubio stabili sibi junxit, hum. In stable bond of marriage bound his own? That's clear of any modern taint, and yet, Virgil is little help to who writes prose. He shall attack me Terence with the dawn, shall Sanucino. Mind business, sir. Thus circumstantially evolve we facts. Ida se habet idioseries facti. He wedded. With owls for augury. Nupsera, heu sinistris avibus. One of the blood Arezzo boasts her best, Dominus Guido, nobili genere ortis, Pompilic. But the version afterward, curb we this ardor, notes alone, today, the speech tomorrow and the Latin last. Such was the rule in Farinacci's time. Indeed I hitched it into verse and good. Unluckily, law quite absorbs a man, or else I think I too had poetized. Law is the pork substratum of the fry, goosefoot and cock's comb are Latinity, and in this case, if circumstance assist, we'll garnish law with idiom, never fear. Out of the way events extend our scope. For instance, when Bottini brings his charge, that letter which you say Pompilia wrote, to criminate her parents and herself, and disengage her husband from the coil, that Guido Franceschini wrote, say we. Because Pompilia could nor read nor write, therefore he penciled her such letter first, then made her trace in ink the same again. Ha, my Bottini, have I thee on hip? How will he turn this nor break Tully's pate? Existimandum, don't I hear the dog? Quod Guido designaverit elementa, dicti epistolc, cuque furent, superinducto ab ea calamo. Notata atramento, there's a style. Quia ipsa scribere nesciabat. Bo! Now, my turn. Either, insuls. I outburst, stupidly put. Inane is the response. Inanus est responsio, or the like to wit, that each of all those characters, quad singula elementa epistolc, had first of all been traced for her by him. Furent per eum prius designata. And then, the ink applied a top of that, et deigned, superinducto calamo, the piece, she says, became her handiwork, per eam, efformata, ut ipsa assurit. Inane were such response. A second time smiley face. Her husband outlined her the whole, forsooth? Vir ejus liniba epistolam? What, she confesses that she wrote the thing. Fatatur eam scripsis, scorn that scathes. That she might pay obedience to her lord? Ut viro obtemperare. Apices. Here repeat charge with proper varied phrase. Eo designante, ipsac calamum superinducente? By such argument, ida pariter, she seeks to show the same, by Saint Joseph and what saints you please. Epistolam ostendit, medius fidius, no voluntary deed but fruit of force. Non-voluntary sed coact scriptam. That's the way to write Latin, friend my Fisk. Bottini is a beast, one barbarous. Look out for him when he attempts to say, armed with a pistol. Guido followed her. Will not I be beforehand with my Fisk, cut away phrase by phrase from underfoot. Guido Pompilium Guido thus his wife following with igneous engine, shall I have? Armis munitus ignes persequens arma sulphurea gestans, sulphury arms, or, might one style a pistol-popping piece? Armitus breviori sclupolo? We'll let him have been armed so, though it makes somewhat against us. I had thought to own provided with a simple travelling sword, ens solomodo viatorio instructus, but we'll grant the pistol here. Better we lost the cause than lacked the gird at the Fisk's Latin, lost the judge's laugh. It's Venturini that decides for style. Tomati rather goes upon the law. So, as to law, but with law ne'er hope to level the fellow, don't I know his trick? How he draws up, ducks under, twists aside. He's a lean-gutted hectic rascal, fine as pale-haired red-eyed ferret which pretends 'tis ermine, pure soft snow from tail to snout. He eludes law by piteous looks aloft, lets Latin glance off as he makes appeal to the saint that's somewhere in the ceiling top. Do you suppose that I don't see the beast? Plague of the ermine vermin. For it takes, and here's the fellow Fisk, you see, and judge, you'll not be long in seeing next. Confound the fop, he's now at work like me. Enter his study, as I seem to do, hear him read out his writing to himself. I know he writes as if he spoke. I hear the hoarse shrill throat, see shut eyes, neck shot forth. I see him strain on tiptoe, soar and pour eloquence out, nor stay nor stint at all perorate in the air, and so, to press with the product. What abuse of type is here? He'll keep clear of my cast, my logic throw, let argument slide, and then deliver swift some bowl from quite an unguessed point of stand, having the luck o' the last word, the reply. A plaguey cast, a mortifying stroke. You face a fellow cries, so, there you stand? But I discourteous jump clean o'er your head. You play ship carpenter, not pilot, so stop rat holes, while a sea sweeps through the breach, hammer and fortify at puny points, do, clamp and tenon, make all tight and safe. 'Tis here and here and here you ship a sea, no good of your stopped leaks and littleness. Yet what do I name, little and a leak? The main defense o' the murders used to death, by this time. Dry bare bones, no scrap to pick. Safer I worked at the new, the unforeseen, the nice bystroke, the fine and improvised point that can titillate the brain o' the bench torpid with overteaching, by this time. As if Tomati, that has heard, reheard and heard again, first this side and then that, Guido and Pietro and Guido din and deafen, full 3 years, at each long ear, don't want amusement for instruction. Now, won't rather feel a flea run o'er his ribs, than a daw settle heavily on his head. Oh, I was young and had the trick of fence, knew subtle pass and push with careless right, the left arm ever quietly behind back with the dagger in t, not both hands to blade. Puff and blow, put the strength out, blunderbore. That's my subordinate, young Spreti. Now, pedant and prig, he'll pant away at proof, that's his way. Now for mine to rub some life into one's choppy fingers this cold day. I trust Cinozzo ties on tippet, guards the precious throat on which so much depends. Guido must be all gooseflesh in his hole, despite the prison straw, bad carnival for captives. No sliced fry for him, poor Count. Carnival time, another providence. The town a swarm with strangers to amuse, to edify, to give one's name and fame in charge of, till they find, some future day, Cintino come and claim it, his name too. Pledge of the pleasantness they owe Papa, who else was it? Cured Rome of her great qualms, when she must needs have her own judgment. I, since all her topping wits had set to work, pronounced already on the case. Mere boys, twice Cinerugiolo's age and half his sense, as good as tell me, when I cross the court, Master Arcangeli, plucking at my gown. We can predict, we comprehend your play, we'll help you save your client. Tra lala. I've traveled ground, from childhood till this hour, to have the town anticipate my track. The old fox takes the plain and velvet path, the young hound's predilection, prints the dew, don't he, to suit their pulpy pads of paw? No, burying nose deep down the briery bush, thus I defend Count Guido. Where are we weak? First, which is foremost in advantage too, our murder, we call. Killing, is a fact confessed, defended, made a boast of, good. To think the fisc claimed use of torture here, and got thereby a vowel plump and plain that gives me just the chance I wanted, scope not for brute force but ingenuity, explaining matters, not denying them. One may dispute, as I am bound to do, and shall, validity of process. Here, inasmuch as a noble is exempt from torture which plebeians undergo in such a case, for law is lenient, lax, remits the torture to a nobleman unless suspicion be of twice the strength attaches to a man born vulgarly. We don't card silk with comb that dresses wool. Moreover, 'twas severity undue in this case, even had the Lord been lout. What utters, on this head, our oracle, our Farinacci, my Gamaliel erst, in those immortal questions? What I quote, of all the tools at law's disposal, sure, that named vigilarum is the best, that is, the worst to whoso has to bear. Lasting, as it may do, from some 7 hours to 10, beyond 10, we've no precedent. Certain have touched their 10 but, bah, they died. It does so efficaciously convince, that, speaking by much observation here, out of each 100 cases, by my count, never I knew of patients beyond 4, withstand its taste, or less than 96, end by succumbing, only martyrs 4, of obstinate silence, guilty or no, against 96 full confessors. Innocent, or otherwise, so shrewd a tool have we, no marvel either. In unwary hands, death on the spot is no rare consequence, as indeed all but happened in this case to one of ourselves, our young tough peasant friend the accomplice called Baldeschi. They were rough, dosed him with torture as you drench a horse, not modify your treatment to a man. So, 2 successive days he fainted dead, and only on the 3rd essay, gave up, confessed like flesh and blood. We could reclaim, blockhead Bottini giving cause enough. But no, we'll take it as spontaneously confessed. We'll have the murder beyond doubt. Ah, fortunate, the poet's word reversed. Inasmuch as we know our happiness, had the antagonist left dubiety, here were we proving murder a mere myth, and Guido innocent, ignorant, absent, absent. He was where should Christian be? Engaged in visiting his proper church, the duty of us all at Christmas time. When Caponsacchi, the seducer, stung to madness by his relegation, cast about him and contrived a remedy, to stave off what opprobrium broke afresh, by the birth o' the babe, on him the imputed sire, he came and quietly sought to smother up his shame and theirs together, killed the 3, and fled. Go seek him where you please to search. Just at the moment, Guido, touched by grace, devotions ended, hastened to the spot, meaning to pardon his convicted wife. Neither do I condemn thee. Go in peace. Who thus arrived the nick of time to catch the charge o' the killing, though great-heartedly he came but to forgive and bring to life. Doubt ye the force of Christmas on the soul? Is thine eye evil because mine is good? So, doubtless, had I needed argue here but for the full confession round and sound, thus would you have some kingly alchemist, whose concern should not be with proving brass transmutable to gold, but triumphing, rather, above his gold changed out of brass, not vulgarly to the mere sight and touch, but in the idea, the spiritual display, proud apparition buoyed by winged words hovering above its birthplace in the brain. Here would you have this excellent personage forced, by the gross need, to gird apron round, plant forge, light fire, ply bellows, in a word, demonstrate when a faulty pipkin's crack may disconcert you his presumptive truth. Here were I hanging to the testimony of one of these poor rustics for, ye gods, whom the first taste of friend the fiscal's cord might drive into undoing my whole speech, shaming truth so. I wonder, all the same, not so much at those peasants' lack of heart, but Guido Franceschini, nobleman, bear pain no better. Everybody knows it used once, when my father was a boy, to form a proper, nay, important point the education of our well-born youth, to take the torture handsomely at need, without confessing in this clownish guise. Each noble had his rack for private use, and would, for the diversion of a guest, bid it be set up in the yard of arms, to take thereon his hour of exercise, command the varletry stretch, strain their best, while friends looked on, admired my lord could smile, mid tugging which had caused an ox to roar. Men are no longer men, and advocates no longer Farinacci. Let men add, if I one more time fly from point proposed. So, vindicatio, here begins the same, honoris causa. So we make our stand. Honor in us had injury, we shall prove. Or if we fail to prove such injury more than misprision of the fact. What then? It is enough, authorities declare, if the result, the deed in question now, be caused by confidence that injury is veritable and no figment. Since, what, though proved fancy afterward, seemed fact at the time, they argue shall excuse result. That which we do, persuaded of good cause for what we do, hold justifiable. The casuists bid man, bound to do his best, they would not have him leave that best undone and mean to do the worst. Though fuller light show best was worst and worst would have been best. Act by the present light, they ask of man. Ultra quod hic non agitur. Besides, it is not anyway our business here, de probatione adultery, to prove what we thought crime was. Crime indeed, ad irrigandum piscinam, and require its punishment. Such nowise do we seek, sed ad effectum, but 'tis our concern, excusandi, here to simply find excuse, oxysorum, for who did the killing work, et ad ilias defensionem, mark the difference, and defend the man, just that. Quo casu levere probatio exuberare, to which end far lighter proof suffices than the prior case would claim. It should be always harder to convict, in short, than to establish innocence. Therefore we shall demonstrate first of all that honor is a gift of God to man precious beyond compare, which natural sense of human rectitude and purity, which white man's soul is born with, brooks no touch. Therefore, the sensitivest spot of all, woundable by a wafture breathed from black, is honor within honor, like the eye-centered eye, the ball, the honor of our wife. Touch us, O the pupil of our honor, then, not actually, since so you slay outright, but by a gesture simulating touch, presumable mere menace of such taint, this were our warrant for eruptive ire, to whose dominion I impose no end. Virgil, now, should not be too difficult to Cinoncello, say the early books. Pen, truce to further gambols. Pashamore, nor can revenge of injury done here to the honor proved the life and soul of us, be too excessive, too extravagant. Such wrong seeks and must have complete revenge. Show we this, first, on the mere natural ground. Begin at the beginning, and proceed incontrovertibly. Theodoric, in an apt sentence Cassiodorus cites, propounds for basis of all household law. I hardly recollect it, but it ends, bird mates with bird, beast genders with his like, and brooks no interference, bird and beast. The very insects, if they wive or no, how dare I say when Aristotle doubts? But the presumption is they likewise wive, at least the nobler sorts. For take the bee as instance, copying King Solomon, why that displeasure of the bee to aught that savours of incontinency, makes the unchaste a very horror to the hive. Whence comes it bees obtain the epithet of caste apes, notably, the chaste? Because, ingeniously saith Scaliger, the young ones see his book of table talk. Such is their hatred of a modest act, they fall upon the offender, sting to death. I mind a passage much confirmative the idealist, though I read him Latinized. Why, asks a shepherd, is this bank unfit for celebration of our vernal loves? O swain, returns the wiser shepherdess, bees swarm here, and would quick resent our warmth. Only cold-blooded fish lack instinct here, nor gain nor guard connubiality. But beasts, quadrupedal, mammiferous, do credit to their beasthood. Witness him, that Cleon cites, the noble elephant, or if not Cleon, somebody is sage, who seeing much offence beneath his nose, his master's friend exceed in courtesy the due allowance to that master's wife, taught them good manners and killed both at once, making his master and all men admire. Indubitably, then, that master's self favoured by circumstance, had done the same or else stood clear rebuked by his own beast. Addio, ut qui honorum spernit, thus, who values his own honour not a straw, et non recuperare curat, nor labours by might and main to salve its wound, se ulcescendo, by revenging him, nil differa beluis, is a brute, quinamo irrationabilior ipsismit beluis, nay, contrariwise, much more irrational than brutes themselves, should be considered. Reputiture. How, if a poor animal feel honour smart, taught by blind instinct nature plants in him, shall man, confessed creation's master stroke, nay, intellectual glory, nay, a god, nay, of the nature of my judges here, shall man prove the insensible, the blot o' the earth he crawls on to disgrace? Come, that's both solid and poetic. Man derogate, live for the low tastes alone, mean creeping cares about the animal life? May Gigia have remembered, nothing stings fried liver out of its monotony of richness like a root of fennel, chopped fine with the parsley. Parsley sprigs, I said, was there need I should say, and fennel too? But no, she cannot have been so obtuse. To our argument, the fennel will be chopped. From beast to man next mount we. But, mind, still mere man, not yet Christian, that, in time. Not too fast, mark you. 'Tis on heathen grounds we next defend our act. Then, fairly urge if this were done of old, in a green tree, allowed in the spring rawness of our kind, what may be licensed in the autumn? Dry, and ripe, the latter harvest tide of man? If, with his poor and primitive half-lights, the pagan, whom our devils served for gods, could stigmatize the breach of marriage vow as that which blood only might efface, absolve the husband, outraged, whose revenge anticipated law, plied sword himself, how with the Christian in full blaze of day? Shall not he rather double penalty, multiply vengeance, than, degenerate, let privilege be minished, droop, decay? Therefore set forth at large the ancient law, superabundant the examples be to pick and choose from. The Athenian Code, Solons, the name is serviceable. Then, the laws of the 12 tables, that 15th, Romulus, likewise, rolls out round and large. The Julian, the Cornelian, Gracchus law, so old a chime, the bells ring of themselves. Spreti can set that going if he please. I point you, for my part, the belfry out, intent to rise from dusk, deluculum, into the Christian day shall broaden next. First, the fit complement to his holiness happily reigning, then sustain the point all that was long ago declared as law by the early revelation, stands confirmed by apostle and evangelist and saint, to wit that honor is the supreme good. Why should I balk Saint Jerome of his phrase? Ubi honor non est, where no honor is, ibi contemptus est, and where contempt, ibi injuria frequens, and where that, the frequent injury, ibi et indignatio, and where the indignation, ibi quis nulla, and where there is no quietude, why, ibi, there, the mind is often cast down from the heights where it proposed to dwell, mens a proposito ssp digicitor. And naturally the mind is so cast down, since harder 'tis, cum difficilius sit, aram cohiber, to coerce one's wrath, quam miracula facere, than work miracles. Saint Gregory smiles in his first dialogue. Whence we infer, the ingenuous soul, the man who makes esteem of honor and repute, whenever honor and repute are touched, arrives at term of fury and despair, loses all guidance from the reason check, as in delirium, or a frenzy fit, nor fury nor despair he satiates, no, not even if he attain the impossible, o'erturn the hinges of the universe to annihilate not who's caused the smart solely, the author simply of his pain, but the place, the memory, vituperi, oh the shame and scorn. Quia, says Solomon, the Holy Spirit speaking by his mouth in Proverbs, the 6th chapter near the end, because, the zeal and fury of a man, zealous et furor viri, will not spare, non parsit, in the day of his revenge, in die venditsi, nor will acquiesce, nec acquiescit, through a person's prayers, cujusdam precibus, nec suscipiat, nor yet take, pro redemption, for redemption, dona plurium, gifts of friends, nor money payment to compound for ache. Who recognizes not my client's case? Whereto, as strangely consentaneous here, adduce Saint Bernard in the epistle writ to Robertulus, his nephew, too much grief. Dolor quip nimius non deliberat, does not excogitate propriety, non vericunditur, nor knows shame at all, non consulat rationem, nor consults reason, non dignitatis metuit damnum, nor dreads the loss of dignity, modum et ordinem, order and the mode, ignorat, it ignores. Why, trait for trait, was ever portrait limned so like the life? By Cavalier Murata, shall I say? I hear he's first in reputation now. Yes, that of Samson in the sacred text. That's not so much the portrait as the man Samson in Gaza was. The antitype of Guido at Rome, for note the Nazarite. Blinded he was, an easy thing to bear, intrepidly he took imprisonment, gyves, stripes, and daily labor at the mill. But when he found himself, the public place, destined to make the common people sport, disdain burned up with such an impetus the breast of him that, all of him on fire, morature, roared he, let my soul's self die, anima mea, with the Philistines. So, pulled down pillar, roof, and death and all, multasque plures interficit, and many more he killed thus, moriens, dying, quam vivis, than in his whole life, occiderit, he ever killed before. Are these things writ for no example, sirs? One instance more, and let me see who doubts. Our Lord himself, made up of mansuetude, sealing the sum of sufferance up, received opprobrium, contumely, and buffeting without complaint. But when he found himself touched in his honor never so little for once, then outbroke indignation pent before, honorum meum nomini dabo. No, my honor I to nobody will give, and certainly the example so hath wrought, that whosoever, at the proper worth, apprizes worldly honor and repute, esteems it nobler to die honored man beneath mania, than live centuries disgraced in the eye o' the world. We find St. Paul no miscreant to this faith delivered once. Far worthier were it that I died, cries he, expedit mihi magis mori, than that any one should make my glory void, quam ut gloriam meam quis evacuet. See, ad Corinthienses, whereupon St. Ambrose makes a comment with much fruit, doubtless my judges long since laid to heart, so I desist from bringing forward here, I can't quite recollect it. Have I proved satis superque, both enough and to spare, that revelation old and new admits the natural man may effervesce in ire, o'erflit earth, o'erfroth heaven with foamy rage, at the first puncture to his self-respect? Then, sirs, this Christian dogma, this law bud full-blown now, soon to bask the absolute flower of papal doctrine in our blaze of clay. Bethink you, shall we miss one promise streak, one doubtful birth of dawn crepuscular, one dewdrop comfort to humanity, now that the chalice teems with noonday wine? Yea, argue Molinists who bar revenge referring just to what makes out our case. Under old dispensation, argue they, the doom of the adulterous wife was death, stoning by Moses's law. Nay, stone her not, put her away. Next legislates our Lord, and last of all, nor yet divorce a wife. Ordains the Church, she typifies ourself, the bride no fault shall cause to fall from Christ. Then, as no jot nor tittle of the law has passed away which who presumes to doubt? As not one word of Christ is rendered vain which, could it be though heaven and earth should pass? Where do I find my proper punishment for my adulterous wife? I humbly ask of my infallible Pope, who now remits even the divorce allowed by Christ in lieu of lapidation. Moses licensed me? The gospel checks the law which throws the stone, the Church tears the divorce bill gospel grants, the wife sins and enjoys impunity. What profits me the fullness of the days, the final dispensation, I demand, unless law, gospel, and the Church subjoin? But who hath barred thee primitive revenge, which, like fire damped and dammed up, burns more fierce? Use thou thy natural privilege of man. Else wert thou found like those old ingrate Jews, despite the manna banquet on the board, a longing after melons, cucumbers, and such like trash of Egypt left behind. There was one melon, had improved our soup, but did not Cinoncello need the rind to make a boat with? So I seem to think. Law, gospel, and the Church, from these we leap to the very last revealment. Easy rule befitting the well-born and thoroughbred. Oh, the happy day we live in. Not the dark, oh, the early rude and acorn-eating race. Behold, quoth James, we bridle in a horse, and turn his body as we would thereby. Yea, but we change the bit to suit the growth, and rasp our colt's jaw with a rugged spike. We hasten to remit our managed steed who wheels round at persuasion of a touch. Civilization bows to decency, the acknowledged use and wont, the manners, mild but yet imperative law, which make the man. Thus do we pay the proper compliment to rank, and that society of Rome hath so obliged us by its interest, taken our client's part instinctively, as unaware defending its own cause. What dictum doth society lay down? The case of one who hath a faithless wife? Wherewithal should the husband cleanse his way? Be patient and forgive? Oh, language fails shrinks from depicturing his punishment. For if wronged husband raise not hue and cry, quod si meritus de adulterio non conquereritur, he's presumed a foe. Presumitur leno. So, complain he must. But how complain? At your tribunal, lords? Far weightier challenge suits your sense, I wot. You sit not to have gentlemen propose questions gentility can itself discuss. Did not you prove that to our brother Paul, the abate, cum judicialiter prosequerator, when he tried the law, Guidonis causam, in Count Guido's case, accidit ipsi, this befell himself, quod rissum moverit et cachinos. That he moved to mirth and cachinnation, all or nearly all, fear in omnibus etiam sensatus et cordatus, men strong-sensed, sound-hearted, nay, the very court, ipsismit in judicibus, I might add, non tamen decam. In a cause like this, so multiplied were reasons pro and con, delicate, intertwisted and obscure, that law were shamed to lend a fingertip to unravel, readjust the hopeless twine, while, half a dozen steps outside the court, there stood a foolish trifler with a tool a dangle to no purpose by his side, had clearly cut the tangle in a trice. Assura enim unanimiter doctoras, for the doctors all assert, that husbands, quod meriti, must be held viles, cornuti reputantur. Vile and branching forth a florid infamy, si propries manibus, if with their own hands, non sumant, they take not straightway revenge, vindictum, but expect the deed be done by the court expectant illum fieri per judices, qui summaper rident, which gives an enormous guffaw for reply, et cachinnantur. For he ran away, deliquit enim, just that he might scape the censure of both counsellors and crowd, ut vulgi et doctorum evitere censurum, and lest so he superadd to loss of honour ignominy too, et sic ne istum quoque ignominium amisso honori superadere. My lords, the inconsiderate step was we referred ourselves to law at all. Twit me not with law, else had punished you. Each punishment of the extra-legal step, to which the high-born preferably revert, is ever for some oversight, some slip-eye, the taking vengeance, not for vengeance self. A good thing done unhandsomely turns ill, and never yet lacked ill the law's rebuke. For pregnant instance, let us contemplate the luck of Leonardus, see at large of Sicily's decision 61st. This Leonard finds his wife is false. What then? He makes her own son snare her, and entice out of the town walls to a private walk, wherein he slays her with commodity. They find her body half devoured by dogs. Leonard is tried, convicted, punished, sent to labor in the galleys 7 years long. Why? For the murder? Nay, but for the mode. Malus modus occidendi. Ruled the court, an ugly mode of killing, nothing more. Another fructuous sample, see, de re criminali, in Mathcus's Divine Peace. Another husband, in no better plight, simulates absence, thereby tempts the wife, on whom he falls, out of sly ambuscade, backed by a brother of his, and both of them armed to the teeth with arms that law had blamed. Nimis dolos, overwilily, fuse operatum, was it worked, pronounced the law. Had all been fairly done, law had not found him worthy, as she did, of 4 years' exile. Why cite more? Enough is good as a feast, unless a birthday feast for one's Cinuccio. So, we'll finish here. My lords, we rather need defend ourselves inasmuch as for a twinkling of an eye we hesitatingly appealed to law, rather than deny that, on mature advice, we blushingly bethought us, bade revenge back to the simple proper private way of decent self-dealt gentlemanly death. Judges, there is the law, and this beside, the testimony. Look to it, pause and breathe, so far is only too plain. We must watch, Bottini will scarce hazard an attack here. Let's anticipate the fellow's play, and guard the weaker places warily. Ask, what if considerations of a sort, reasons of a kind, arise from out the strange peculiar unforeseen new circumstance of this our, candor owns, abnormal act, to bar the right of us revenging so? Impunity were otherwise your meed. Go slay your wife and welcome, may be urged, but why the innocent old couple slay, Pietro, Violanti? You may do enough, not too much, not exceed the golden mean. Neither brute beast nor pagan, Gentile, Jew, nor Christian, no nor votarist of the mode, were free at all to push revenge so far. No, indeed? Why, thou very silest. The actual wrong, Pompilia seemed to do, was virtual wrong done by the parents here imposing her upon us as their child themselves allow. Then, her fault was their fault, her punishment be theirs accordingly. But wait a little, sneak not off so soon. Was this cheat solely harm to Guido, pray? The precious couple you call innocent. Why, they were felons that law failed to clutch, qui ut frauderant, who that they might rob, legitimi vocatos, folks law called, ad fide commissum, true heirs to the trust, partum supposuerant, feigned this birth, immamors reos factos esse, blind to the fact that, guilty, they incurred thereby, ultimi supplici. Hanging or aught worse. Do you blame us that we turn law's instruments not mere self-seekers, mind the public weal, nor make the private good our sole concern? That having, shall I say, secured a thief, not simply we recover from his pouch the stolen article our property, but also pounce upon our neighbor's purse we opportunely find reposing there, and do him justice while we right ourselves? He owes us, for our part, a drubbing say, but owes our neighbor just a dance the air under the gallows, so we throttle him. The neighbor's law, the couple are the thief, we are the over ready to help law. Zeal of her house hath eaten us up. For which, can it be, law intends to eat up us, crudum priamum, devour poor Priam raw. 'Twas Jupiter's own joke, with babes to boot, Priamique Pacinos, in Homeric phrase? Shame. And so ends the period prettily. But even, prove the pair not culpable, free as unborn babe from connivance it, participation in, their daughter's fault, ours the mistake. Is that a rare event? Non semel, it is anything but rare, in contingentia facti, that by chance, impugns evasra, go scot-free, qui, such well-meaning people as ourselves, justo dolor moti, who aggrieved with cause, apposuerant manus, lay rough hands, in innocentes, on wrong heads. Cite we an illustrative case in point. Mulla Smyrnia Quiesdam, good my lords, a gentlewoman. Lived in Smyrna once, virum et filium ex eo conceptum, who both husband and her son begot by him, killed, interfecerit, ex quo, because, vir filium suum perditerit, her spouse had been beforehand with her, killed her son, matrimony primi, of a previous bed. Deigned accusita, then accused, apud dolabellum, before him that sat proconsul, nec. Duibus siestibus contaminatum liberare, nor to liberate a woman doubly dyed with murder, voluit. Made he up his mind, nec condemnare, nor to doom to death, justo dolor impulsum, one impelled by just grief, sed remisit, but sent her up ad Areopagum, to the hill of Mars, sapientissimorum judicum sistem, to that assembly of the sage paralleled only by my judges here, ubi cognito de causa, where, the cause well weighed, responsum est, they gave reply, ut ipsa et accusator, that both sides owe the suit, redirant, should come back again, post centum annos, after 100 years, for judgment. Et sic, by which sage decree, duplici parricidio re, one convicted of a double parricide, quamvis etiam innocentem. Though in truth out of the pair, one innocent at least she, oxidicet, plainly had put to death, undequac, yet she altogether, scaped, of acid impunis. See the case at length in Valerius, fittingly styled Maximus, that 8th book of his memorable facts. Nor Syriacus cites beside the mark, similiter exor cus mandaverit, just so, a lady who had taken care, homicidium viri, that her lord be killed, ex denegatione debiti, for denegation of a certain debt, matrimonialis, he was loath to pay, fuit pecuniaria mulcta, was immersed in a pecuniary mulct, punita, et ad snam, and to pains, temporalum, for a certain space of time, in monasterio, in a convent. In monasterio, how he manages in with the ablative, the accusative. I had hoped to have hitched the villain into verse for a gift, this very day. A complete list o' the prepositions each with proper case, telling a story, long was in my head. What prepositions take the accusative? Add to or at who? Saw the cat? Down to ob, for, because of, keep her claws off. Law in a man takes the whole liberty. The muse is fettered, just as Ovid found. And now, sea widens and the coast is clear. What of the dubious act you bade excuse? Surely things brighten, till at length remains so far from act that needs defense apology to make for act. Delayed 1 minute, let alone 8 mortal months of hesitation. Why procrastinate? Out with it, my Botanius, ease thyself. Right, promptly done, is twice right. Right delayed, turns wrong. We grant you should have killed your wife, but on the moment, at the meeting her in company with the priest, then did the tongue, oh the brazen head give license. Time is now. You make your mind up. Time is past, it peals. Friend, you are competent to mastery. Oh the passions that confessedly explain an outbreak, yet allow an interval, and then break out as if time's clock still clanged. You have forfeited your chance, and flat you fall, into the commonplace category, of men bound to go softly all their days, obeying law. Now, which way make response? What was the answer Guido gave himself? That so to argue came of ignorance how honor bears a wound. For, wound, said he, my body, and the smart is worst at first. While, wound my soul where honor sits and rules, longer the sufferance, stronger grows the pain, 'tis ex incontinenti, fresh is first. But try another tack. Calm common sense by way of contrast. As too true, my lords. We did demur, a while did hesitate. Yet husband sure should let a scruple speak ere he slay wife, for his own safety, lords. Carpers abound in this misjudging world. Moreover, there's a nicety in law that seems to justify them should they carp. Suppose the source of injury a son, father may slay such son yet run no risk. Why graced with such a privilege? Because a father so incensed with his own child, or must have reason, or believe he has, quia semper, seeing that in such event, presumator, the law is bound suppose, quod capiat pater, that the sire must take, bonum concilium pro filio, the best course is to what befits his boy, through instinct, ex instinctu, of mere love, amoris, and paterni, fatherhood. Quam confidentium, which confidence, non habet, law declines to entertain, de viro, of the husband. Where has he an instinct that compels him love his wife? Rather is he presumably her foe. So, let him ponder long in this bad world ere do the simplest act of justice. But again, and here we brush Bottini's breast object. You see the danger of delay. Suppose a man murdered my friend last month. Had I come up and killed him for his pains, in rage, I had done right, allows the law. I meet him now and kill him in cold blood, I do wrong. Equally allows the law. Wherein do actions differ, yours and mine? In plenitudin intellectus es? Hast thy wits, Fisk? To take such slayer's life, returns it life to thy slain friend at all? Had he stolen ring instead of stabbing friend, today, tomorrow or next century, meeting the thief, thy ring upon his thumb, thou justifiably hadst wrung it thence. So, couldst thou wrench thy friend's life back again, though prisoned in the bosom of his foe, why, law would look complacent on thy rush. Our case is, that the thing we lost, we found. The honor, we were robbed of 8 months since, being recoverable at any day by death of the delinquent. Go thy ways, ere thou hast learned law, will be much to do, as said the rustic while he shod the goose. Nay, if you urge me, interval was none. From the inn to the villa blank, or else a bar of adverse and contrarious incidents solid between us and our just revenge. What with the priest who flourishes his blade, the wife who like a fury flings at us, the crowd and then the capture, the appeal to Rome, the journey there, the journey thence, the shelter at the house of convertites, the visits to the villa, and so forth, where was 1 minute left us all this while to put in execution that revenge we planned the instant? As it were, plump down a round sound egg, the spot, some 8 months since, Rome, more propitious than our nest, should hatch, object not. You reached Rome on Christmas Eve, and, despite liberty to act at once, waited a week in decorous delay. Hath so the Molinism canker, lords, eaten to the bone? Is no religion left? No care for aught held holy by the Church? What, would you have us skip and miss those feasts the natal time? Must we go prosecute secular business on a sacred day? Should not the merest charity expect? Setting our poor concerns aside for once, we hurried to the song matutinal the Sistine, and pressed forward for the Mass the Cardinal that's Camerlengo chaunts, then rushed on to the blessing of the hat and rapier, which the Pope sends to what Prince has done. Most detriment to the infidel, and thereby whet our courage if 'twere blunt? Meantime, allow we kept the house a week, suppose not we were idle in our mew. Picture Count Guido raging here and there, money? I need none, friends? The word is null, match me the white was on that shield of mine, born at wherever might be shield to bear. I see my grandsire, he who fought so well, at here find out and put in time in place of what might be a fight his grandsire fought. I see this, I see that, see to it all, or I shall scarce see lambs fry in an hour. Nod to the uncle, as I bid advance the smoking dish, this, for your tender teeth. Behoves us care a little for our kin, you, sir, who care so much for cousinship, as come to your poor loving nephew's feast. He has the reversion of a long lease yet land to bequeath. He loves lambs fry, I know. Here fall to be considered those same 6 qualities. What Bottini needs must call so many aggravations of our crime. Parasite growth upon mere murder's back. We summarily might dispose of such by some off-hand and jaunty fling, some skit, so, since there's proved no crime to aggravate, a fico for your aggravations, fisc. No, handle mischief rather, play with spells were meant to raise a spirit, and laugh the while we show that did he rise we are his match. Therefore, first aggravation, we made up over and above our simple murdering selves a regular assemblage of armed men, codunatio armatorum. Unluckily it was the very judge who sits in judgment on our cause today that passed the law as governor of Rome. 4 men armed, though for lawful purpose, mark. Much more for an acknowledged crime, shall die. We 5 were armed to the teeth, meant murder too? Why, that's the very point that saves us, fisc. Let me instruct you, crime nor done nor meant, you punish still who arm and congregate. For why have used bad means to a good end? Crime being meant not done, you punish still the means to crime, you haply pounce upon, though circumstance have balked you of their end, but crime not only compassed but complete, meant and done too? Why, since you have the end, be that your sole concern, nor mind those means no longer to the purpose. Murdered we? Which, that our luck was in the present case, quod contigis in prcenti casu, is palpable, manibus palpatum est. Make murder out against us, nothing less. Of many crimes committed with a view to one main crime, you overlook the less, intent upon the large. Suppose a man having in view commission of a theft, climb the town wall. 'Tis for the theft he hangs. Suppose you can convict him of such theft, remitted whipping due to who climbs wall for bravery or wantonness alone, just to dislodge a daw's nest and no more. So I interpret you the manly mind of him the judge shall judge both you and me, O the governor, who, being no babe, my fisc, cannot have blundered on ineptitude. Were specially of such forbidden sort through shape or length or breadth, as, prompt, law plucks from single hand of solitary man, and makes him pay the carriage with his life, delatio armorum. Arms against the rule, contra formam constitutionis, of Pope Alexander's blessed memory. Such are the poignard with the double prong, horn-like, when tines make bold the antlered buck, and all of brittle glass for man to stab and break off short and so let fragments stick fast in the flesh to baffle surgery, and such the Genoese blade with hooks at edge that did us service at the villa here, sed parcat mihi tam eximius vir. But, let so rare a personage forgive, fisc. Thy objection is a foppery. Thy charge runs, that we killed 3 innocents, killed, dost see? Then, if killed, what matter how? By stick or stone, by sword or dagger, tool long or tool short, round or triangular poor folks. They find small comfort in a choice. Means to an end, my fisc. Nature cries out, take the first arms you find. Furor ministrat arma. Where's a stone? Und me lapidem. Where darts for me? Unsagitas? But subdue the bard and rationalize a little. 8 months since, had we, or had we not, incurred your blame for letting, scape unpunished this bad pair? I think I proved that in last paragraph. Why did we so? Because our courage failed. Wherefore, through lack of arms to fight the foe, we had no arms or merely lawful ones, an unimportant sword and blunderbuss, against a foe, pollant in potency, the Amasius, and our vixen of a wife. Well then, how culpably do we gird loin and once more undertake the high emprise, unless we load ourselves this second time with handsome superfluity of arms, since better say, too much, than, not enough, and, plus non vitiate, too much does no harm, except in mathematics, sages say. Gather instruction from the parable. At first we are advised, a lad hath here 7 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. What is that among so many? Aptly asked, but put that question twice in, Quite as apt the answer is, fragments, 12 baskets full. And, while we speak of superabundance, fling a word by the way to fools that cast their flout on Guido, punishment exceeds offense. You might be just but you were cruel too. If so you stigmatize the stern and strict, still, he is not without excuse may plead transgression of his mandate, over zeal o' the part of his companions. All he craved was, they should fray the faces of the three. Solomodo facis est, he owns no more, dedis mandatum, than that he desired, ad essefregendum, decam, that they hack and hew, the customary phrase, his wife, exorum tantum, and no harm beside. If his instructions then be misconceived, nay, disobeyed, impute you blame to him? Cite me no Panicalus to the point, as adverse. Oh, I quite expect his case how certain noble youths of Sicily having good reason to mistrust their wives, killed them and were absolved in consequence, while others who had gone beyond the need by mutilation of the paramour, so Galba in the Horatian satire grieved. These were condemned to the galleys, as for guilt exceeding simple murder of a wife. But why? Because of ugliness, and not cruelty, in the said revenge, I trow. Ex causa abscissionis partium, quia nempi id facientis reputantur naturc. Inimici, man revolts against such as the natural enemy. Pray, grant to one who meant to slit the nose and slash the cheek and slur the mouth, at most, a somewhat more humane award than these. Objectum funditus corruit. Flat you fall, my fisc. I waste no kick on you but pass. Third aggravation. That our act was done not in the public street, where safety lies, not in the by-place, caution may avoid, wood, cavern, desert, spots contrived for crime, but in the very house, home, nook and nest, the victims, murdered in their dwelling place, in domo ac habitatione propria, where all presumably is peace and joy. The spider, crime, pronounce we twice a pest when, creeping from congenial cottage, she taketh hold with her hands, to horrify his household more, the palace of the king. All three were housed and safe and confident. Moreover, the permission that our wife should have at length domum pro carcer, her own abode in place of prison, we ourselves granted, by our other self and proxy Paulo. Did we make such grant, meaning a lure, elude the vigilance o' the jailer, led her to commodious death, while we ostensibly relented? Aye, just so did we, nor otherwise, my fisc. Is vengeance lawful? We demand our right, but find it will be questioned or refused by jailer, turnkey, hangdog. What know we? Pray, how is it we should conduct ourselves? To gain our private right, break public peace, do you bid us? Trouble order with our broils? In danger. Shall I shrink to own ourselves, who want no broken head nor bloody nose, while busied slitting noses, breaking heads? From the first tipstaff shall please interfere, nam quicquid sit, for howsoever it be in de consensu nostro, if with leave or not, a monasterio. From the nuns, educta esset, she had been led forth, potwamus id dissimulare, we may well have granted leave in pure pretense, ut aditum habere, that thereby an entry we might compass, a free move potuismus, to her easy death, ad eam occidendum. Privacy o' the hearth, and sanctitude of home, say you? Would you give man's abode more privilege than God's? For in the churches where he dwells, in quibus assistit regum rex, by means of his essence, per essentium, all the same, et nihilominus, therein, in ice, ex justa via delinquens, whoso dares to take a liberty on ground enough, is pardoned, excusator. That's our case, delinquent through befitting cause. You hold, to punish a false wife in her own house is graver than, what happens every day, to hale a debtor from his hiding place in church protected by the sacrament? To this conclusion have I brought my fisc? Foxes have holes, and fowls o' the air their nests. Praise you the impiety that follows, fisc? Shall false wife yet have where to lay her head? Contra fiscum. Definitum est. He's done, surge et scribe. Make a note of it. If I may dally with Aquinas' word. Or in the death throe does he mutter still? Fourth aggravation, that we changed our garb, and rusticized ourselves with uncouth hat, rough vest and goatskin wrappage. Murdered thus mutatione vestium, in disguise, whereby mere murder got complexed with while, turned homicidium ex insidies. Fisk, how often must I round thee in the ears all means are lawful to a lawful end? Concede he had the right to kill his wife. The Count indulged in a travesty. Why? Dela ut vindictum summere, that on her he might lawful vengeance take, commodious, with more ease, et tucius, and safelier. Wants he warrant for the step? Read to thy prophet how the apostle once for ease and safety, when Damascus raged, was let down in a basket by the wall, to 'scape the malice of the governor. Another sort of governor boasts Rome. Many are of opinion, covered close, concealed with what except that very cloak he left behind at Troas afterward. I shall not add a syllable. Molinists may. Well, have we more to manage? Aye, indeed. Fifth aggravation, that our wife reposed sub potestate judicis, beneath protection of the judge. Her house was styled a prison, and his power became its guard in lieu of wall and gate and bolt and bar. This a tough point, shrewd, redoubtable, because we have to supplicate the judge shall overlook wrong done the judgment seat. Now, I might suffer my own nose be pulled, as man but then as father. If the fisc touched one hair of my boy who held my hand in confidence he could not come to harm crossing the Corso, at my own desire. Going to see those bodies in the church, what would you say to that, Don Hyacinth? This is the sole and single naughty point. For, bid Tomati blink his interest, you laud his magnanimity the while. But balk Tomati's office, he talks big. My predecessors in the place, those sons, oh the prophets that may hope succeed me here, shall I diminish their prerogative? Count Guido Franceschini's honor, well, has the governor of Rome none? You perceive, the cards are all against us. Make a push, kick over table, as our gamesters do. We, do you say, encroach upon the rights, deny the omnipotence o' the judge forsooth? We, who have only been from first to last intent on that his purpose should prevail, nay, more, at times, anticipating both at risk of a rebuke? But wait a while, cannot we lump this with the sixth and last of the aggravations that the majesty o' the sovereign here received a wound, to wit, elexa majestas, since our violence was out of envy to the course of law, in odium litis? We cut short thereby 3 pending suits, promoted by ourselves the main, which worsens crime. Actit ad exasperationem criminis. Yes, hear the eruptive wrath with full effect. How did not indignation chain my tongue could I repel this last, worst charge of all? There is a porcupine to barbecue. Gigia can jug a rabbit well enough, with sour sweet sauce and pine pips. But, good Lord, suppose the devil instigate the wench to stew, not roast him? Stew my porcupine? If she does, I know where his quill shall stick. Come, I must go myself and see to things. I cannot stay much longer stewing here. Our stomach, I mean, our soul is stirred within, and we want words. We wounded majesty, fall under such a censure, we, who yearn so much that majesty dispel the cloud and shine on us. With healing on its wings, we prayed the Pope, Majesta's very self, to anticipate a little the tardy pack. Bell us forth deep the authoritative bay should start the beagles into sudden yelp unisonous, and, gospel-leading law, grant there assemble in our own behoof a congregation, a particular court, a few picked friends of quality and place, to hear the several matters in dispute, causes big, little and indifferent, bred of our marriage like a mushroom growth, all at once. Can one brush off such too soon? And so with laudable dispatch decide whether we, in the main, to sink detail, were one the church should hold fast or let go. What, take the credit from the law? You ask? Indeed, we did. Law ducks to gospel here. Why should law gain the glory and pronounce a judgment shall immortalize the Pope? Yes. Our self-abnegating policy was Joab's. We would rouse our David's sloth, bid him encamp against a city, sack a place where to ourselves had long laid siege, lest, taking it at last, it take our name and be not Innocentinopolis. But no, the modesty was in alarm. The temperance refused to interfere, returned us our petition with the word, ad judicis suos, leave him to his judge. As who should say, why trouble my repose? Why consult Peter in a simple case? Peter's wife's sister in her fever fit might solve as readily as the apostle's self? Are my tribunals posed by aught so plain? Hath not my court a conscience? It is of age, ask it. We do ask, but, inspire reply to the court thou bidst me ask, as I have asked, O thou, who vigilantly dost attend to even the few, the ineffectual words which rise from this our low and mundane sphere up to thy region out of smoke and noise, seeking corroboration from thy nod who art all justice, which means mercy too, in a low noisy smoky world like ours where Adam's sin made peccable his seed. We venerate the father of the flock, whose last faint sands of life, the frittered gold, fall noiselessly, yet all too fast, oh the cone and tapering heap of those collected years, never have these been hurried in their flow, though justice fain would jog reluctant arm, in eagerness to take the forfeiture of guilty life. Much less shall mercy sue in vain that thou let innocence survive. Precipitate no minim of the mass o' the all so precious moments of thy life, by pushing Guido into death and doom. R. Cardinal engages read my speech. They say, the Pope has 1/2 hour, in 12, of something like a moderate return of the intellectuals, never much to lose. If I adroitly plant this passage there, the Fisc will find himself forestalled, I think, though he stand, beat till the old ear drum break. Ah! Boy of my own bowels, Hyacinth, wilt ever catch the knack, requite the pains of poor Papa, become proficient to I, the how and why and when, the time to laugh, the time to weep, the time, again, to pray, and all the times prescribed by Holy Writ? Well, we fathers can but care, but cast our bread upon the waters. In a word, these secondary charges go to ground, since secondary, so superfluous, motes quite from the main point. We did all and some, little and much, adjunct and principal, causa honoris. Is there such a cause as the sake of honor? By that sole test try our action, nor demand it more or less, because of the action's mode, we merit blame or maybe deserve praise. The court decides. Is the end lawful? It allows the means. What we may do we may with safety do, and what means safety, we ourselves must judge. Put case a person wrongs me past dispute. If my legitimate vengeance be a blow, mistrusting my bare arm can deal the same, I claim cooperation of a stick. Doubtful if stick be tough, I crave a sword. Diffident of ability in fence, I fee a friend, a swordsman to assist. Take one who may be coward, fool or knave, why not take 50? And if these exceed I, the due degree of drubbing, whom accuse but the first author of the aforesaid wrong who put poor me to such a world of pains? Surgery would have just excised a wart. The patient made such pother, struggled so that the sharp instrument sliced nose and all. Taunt us not that our friends performed for pay. For us, enough were simple honor's sake. Give country clowns the dirt they comprehend, the piece of gold. Our reasons, which suffice ourselves, be ours alone. Our piece of gold be, to the rustic, reason and to spare. We must translate our motives like our speech into the lower phrase. That suits the sense o' the limitedly apprehensive. Let each level have its language. Heaven speaks first to the angel, then the angel tames the word down to the ear of Tobit. He, in turn, diminishes the message to his dog, and finally that dog finds how the flea, which else, importunate, might check his speed, shall learn its hunger must have holiday. How many varied sorts of language here, each following each with pace to match the step. Hod passibus sequus. Talking of which flea reminds me I must put in special word for the poor humble following. The four friends, Sakari, are assassins in your charge. Ourselves are safe in your approval now, yet must we care for our companions, plead the cause o' the poor, the friends of old world faith, who are in tribulation for our sake. Pauperum Procurator is my style. I stand forth as the poor man's advocate, and when we treat of what concerns the poor, et cum agater de pauperibus, in bondage, carceratus, for their sake, in eram causis, natural piety, pietas, ever ought to win the day, triumphare debet, quia ipsi sunt, because those very paupers constitute, thesaurus Christi, all the wealth of Christ. Nevertheless I shall not hold you long with multiplicity of proofs, nor burn candle at noontide, clarify the clear. There beams a case refulgent from our books castrensis, buttringarius, everywhere I find it burn to dissipate the dark. 'Tis this. A husband had a friend, which friend seemed to him over friendly with his wife in thought and purpose. I pretend no more to justify suspicion or dispel. He bids his wife make show of giving heed, semblance of sympathy propose, in fine, a secret meeting in a private place. The friend, enticed thus, finds an ambuscade, to wit, the husband posted with a pack of other friends, who fall upon the first and beat his love and life out both at once. These friends were brought to question for their help. Law ruled, the husband being in the right. Who helped him in the right can scarce be wrong. Opinio, an opinion every way, multum tenenda cordi, heart should hold. When the inferiors follow as befits the lead o' the principal, they change their name, and, non-dicunter, are no longer called his mandatories, mandatory, but helpmates, sed auxiliators. Since to that degree does honor, saque lend aid, addio honoris causa est efficax, that not alone, non solum, does it pour itself out, se diffundit, on mere friends, we bring to do our bidding of this sort, in mandatorio simplices, but sucks along with it in wide and generous whirl. Sed etiam assassini qualitate qualificatos, people qualified by the quality of assassination self. Dare I make use of such neologism, ut utar verbo. Haste we to conclude. Of the other points that favor, leave some few for spreti, such as the delinquent's youth. One of them falls short, by some months, of age fit to be managed by the gallows. Two may plead exemption from our law's award, being foreigners. Subjects of the Grand Duke I spare that bone to spreti and reserve myself the juicier breast of argument flinging the breastblade I, the face o' the fisc, who furnished me the tidbit. He must needs play off his armory and rack the clowns, and they, at instance of the rack, confessed all four unanimously did resolve, that night o' the murder, in brief minutes snatched behind the back of Guido as he fled, that, since he had not kept his promise, paid the money for the murder on the spot, and, reaching home again, might even ignore the past or pay it in improper coin. They one and all resolved, these hopeful friends, they would inaugurate the morrow's light, having recruited strength with needful rest, by killing Guido as he lay asleep pillowed by wallet which contained their fee. I thank the fisc for knowledge of this fact. What fact could hope to make more manifest their rectitude, Guido's integrity? For who fails recognize apparent here, that these poor rustics bore no envy, hate, malice nor yet uncharitableness against the people they had put to death? In them, did such an act reward itself? All done was to deserve their simple pay, obtain the bread they earned by sweat of brow. Missing this pay, they missed of everything hence claimed it, even at expense of life to their own lord. So little warped were they by prepossession, such the absolute instinct of equity in rustic souls. While he the count, the cultivated mind, he, wholly wrapped in his serene regard of honor, as who contemplates the sun and hardly minds what tapers blink below, he, dreaming of no argument for death except the vengeance-worthy noble hearts, would be to desecrate the deed forsooth, vulgarize vengeance, as defray its cost by money dug out of the dirty earth, mere irritant, in Marot's phrase, too ill? What though he lured base hinds by lucre's hope, the only Motive they could masticate, milk for babes, not stong meat which men require. The deed done, those coarse hands were soiled enough, he spared them the pollution of the pay. So much for the allegement, thine, my fisc, quo nil absurdus, than which not more mad. Excogitari potest, may be squeezed from out the cogitative brain of thee. And now, thou excellent the governor, push to the peroration, ceciterum enex supplico. I strive in prayer, ut dominis mace, that unto the court, benigna front, with a gracious brow, et oculis serenis, and mild eyes, perpendere placat, it may please them way, quod Dominus Guido, that our noble count, occidit, did the killing in dispute, ut ejus honor tumulatus, that the honor of him buried fathom deep in infamy, in infamia, might arise, resurgere, as ghosts break sepulchre. Occidit, for he killed, exorum, wife, quia illi fuit, since she was to him, opprobrio, a disgrace and nothing more. Et genitors, killed her parents too, qui, who, postposita vericundia, having thrown off all sort of decency, filium repudiarunt, had renounced their daughter, atqui declarare non erabora, nor felt blush-tinged cheek, declaring, meretricis genitam esse, she was the offspring of a drab, ut ips deonesterature, just that so himself might lose his social rank. Cujus mentum, and which daughter's heart and soul, they, pervertera, turned from the right course, et ad illicitos amores non dumtaxit pellixirunt, and to love not simply did alluringly incite, sed vi obedientic, but by force the duty, filialis, daughters codra, forced and drove her to the deed. Occidit, I repeat he killed the clan, ne silicet amplius in dedicor, lest peradventure longer life might trail, vivere, link by link his turpitude, invisus consanguines, hateful so to kith and kindred, a nobilibus notatus, shunned by men of quality, relictus ab amicis, left the lurch by friends, ab omnibus derisus, turned a common hackblock to try edge of jokes. Occidit, and he killed them here in Rome, in Urba, the eternal city. Sirs, nempi cuc alias spectata est, the appropriate theatre which witnessed once, matronam nobilum, Lucretia's self, abluere pudicitic maculas, wash off the spots of her pudicity, sanguine proprio, with her own pure blood. Cuc vidit, and which city also saw, Patrim, Virginius, undequac, quite, impunum, with no sort of punishment, nor et non laudatum, lacking praise, sed polluntem parricidio, embrue his hands with butchery, philic, of chaste Virginia, to avoid a rape, ne reparator ad stupra. So to heart, tanti illi cordi fuit, did he take, suspicia, the mere fancy men might have, honoris amitendi, of fame's loss, ut potius volerit filia orbari, that he chose to lose his child, quam illa incedere, rather than she walk the ways in, inhonesta, child disgraced, licit non sponte, though against her will. Occidit killed them, I reiterate in propria domo, in their own abode, ut adultera et parentes, that each wretch, consciae annuscerent, might both see and say, nullum locum, there's no place, nullumque esse asylum, nor yet refuge of escape, impenetrabilum, shall serve as bar, honori elsiso, to the wounded one in honor. Neve ibi opprobria continuarantur, killed them on the spot moreover, dreading lest within those walls the opprobrium peradventure be prolonged, et domus cuc testis fuit terpium, and that the domicile which witnessed crime, esset et psns, might watch punishment. Occidit, killed, I round you in the ears, quia alio modo, since, by other mode, non poterit ejus existimatio, there was no possibility his fame, elexa, gashed grisly, tam enormiter, ducere cicatrices, might be healed. Occidit ut exemplum piarcibere exoribus, killed her so to lessen wives jura conjugi, that the Marriage oath, esse servanda, must be kept henceforth. Occidit denique, killed her, in a word, ut pro posse honestus vivere, that he, please God, might creditably live, sin minus. But if fate willed otherwise, proprii honoris, of his outraged fame, offensi, by manaja, if you please, commiseranda victima caderit, the pitiable victim he should fall. Done. I, the rough. But done. And, lo, landed and stranded lies my very own, my miracle, my monster of defense Leviathan, into the nose whereof I have put fishhook, pierced his jaw with thorn, and given him to my maidens for a play. I, the rough, tomorrow I review my piece. Tame here and their undue floridity, it's hard. You have to plead before these priests and poke at them with scripture, or you pass for heathen in, what's worse, for ignorant o' the quality o' the court and what it likes by way of illustration of the law. Tomorrow stick in this, and throw out that, and, having first ecclesiasticized, regularize the whole, next emphasize, then Latinize, and lastly Ciceroize, giving my fisc his finish. There's my speech, and where's my fry, and family and friends? Where's that old hyacinth I mean to hug till he cries out, jam satis? Let me breathe. Oh, what an evening have I earned today. Hail, ye true pleasures, all the rest are false. Oh, the old mother, oh, the fattish wife. Rogue Hyacinth shall put on paper toque, and wrap himself around with Mama's veil done up to imitate Papa's black robe. I'm in the secret of the comedy, part of the program leaked out long ago. And call himself the advocate o' the poor, mimic Don Father that defends the Count, and for reward shall have a small full glass of manly red rosolio to himself, always. Provided that he conjugate bibo, I drink, correctly nor be found make the perfectum, bipsi, as last year. How the ambitious do so harden heart is lightly hold by these home sanctitudes, to me is matter of bewilderment. Because ambition's range is nowise tethered by domestic tie. Am I refused an outlet from my home to the world's stage, whereon a man should play the man in public, vigilant for law, zealous for truth, a credit to his kind, nay, through the talents so employed as yield the Lord his own again with usury, a satisfaction, yea, to God himself? Well, I have modelled me by a girl's wish. Remove far from me vanity and lies, feed me with food convenient for me. What the world should a wise man require beyond? Can I but coax the good fat little wife to tell her fool of a father of the prank his scapegrace nephew played this time last year at Carnival? He could not choose, I think, but modify that inconsiderate gift o' the cup and cover. Somewhere in the will under the pillow, someone seems to guess. Correct that clause in favor of a boy the trifle ought to grace with name engraved, would look so well produced in years to come to pledge a memory when poor Papa Latin and law are long since laid at rest. Hyacintho dono dedit avis, why, the wife should get a necklace for her pains, the very pearls that made Violante proud, and Pietro pawned for half their value once, redeemable by somebody ne sit merita cuque rotundioribus annusta mammis. Bachi's amulet, her bosom shall display the big round balls, no braver should be borne by wedded wife. With which Horatian promise I conclude, into the pigeonhole with thee, my speech, off and away, first work then play, play, play. Botini, burn your books, you blazing ass. Sing, tra la la, for, lambkins, we must live.